Why is saying, all lives matter, bad? The example I love about this is whenever a traumatic event happens in a city and people say, Paris strong, or, our thoughts are with Las Vegas. It's not saying that other cities do not exist, but this place needs support and solidarity at this time. Could you imagine saying, all cities matter, after something occurs in a specific place? Like, obviously yes. But also right now those other places don't need the same show of support. The analogy I've heard used most often is that when your house is on fire and the fire department arrives, the other neighbors don't stand around saying, our houses also matter. Like, sure, but the focus needs to be put on the one that's in flames right now. It's almost always said as a distraction from the topic at hand. When the topic at hand is black people getting shot by police. It's kind of like if there's an event to raise money for childhood brain cancer. And then someone shows up to it and is like, all diseases matter. What about multiple sclerosis or AIDS? Quote, the people raising money for kids with brain cancer don't disagree that those other diseases are important. Just they planned an event for a cause and it's annoying to take it over for a different cause. Plan a different event if you want to talk about a different thing. All lives matter is true when some lives aren't treated as if they matter. Though, it's fair to say that those lives in particular do in fact matter. That's what Black Lives Matter is supposed to mean. The system is treating black lives as if they don't matter. But in fact they do. Black lives do matter. And the system should act like it. Conservatives and 4chaners purposely misread that to mean, only black lives matter. They did this to stir the pot. So in this context, all lives matter is a way of strawmanning Black Lives Matter. It's a way of creating a caricature and attacking people for something they never said. That's why it's offensive. Because of what it means to say that. It means you are strawmanning a movement. Calling them racist, this makes them sound like hypocrites when they aren't. And it's immoral and devious. Yes, all lives matter. But if the system is going to act like it, it has to act like Black Lives Matter too. I've seen a lot of analogies, but the one that made it really click for me is a bit from comedian Michael Che where he says, that would be like if your wife came up to you and was like, do you love me? And you were like, baby, I love everybody. https u2.be/s6mvjnig4. A good phrasing I've seen is something like this. Pretend your child died. You're at your child's funeral. Maybe even standing up to eulogize your precious little love of your life. During the proceedings, someone you don't even know interrupts the ceremony to exclaim, why is everyone here so worried about this child? Do you all know that many children died today? Millions of children die every year. Quote, it's kind of task at hand. Eyes on the target. Stay on subject type of thing. Similar. All trees matter. Yes. But we need to focus on the Amazon and rainforests. They are in immediate danger. As an addition to the other responses, I'd also like to point out that some have misinterpreted Black Lives Matter to be an attack against white people. They hear it as Black Lives Matter more, which they then counter with all lives matter. But in reality it is saying Black Lives Matter too. Saying all lives matter just shows that you've completely missed the point of the protests. It's not the idea that all lives matter, it is using that logic to try and be a counter to Black Lives Matter. All lives matter, and they do. Black Lives Matter too. What people who say all lives matter is doing is basically saying, I know that black lives are marginalized, but I don't want to have to think about that. So shut up about it, or I'll have to consider my own shortcomings. I used to be one of those people. Then I started talking to protesters instead of trying to yell over them. Imagine what listening instead of arguing could do for your worldview. Of course, all lives matter. The issue at hand is that black people, especially in the US, are more likely to have hostile encounters with the police, be prosecuted more, and more severely sentenced for the same crimes than other races. The best analogy I've come across is that of houses on fire. Of course, all houses matter, but if there are homes on fire, those take precedence over those that are not. All lives matter is an excellent example of the difference between what people say and what they mean. When people say, all lives matter, obviously what they're saying is correct. All lives do matter. But almost always, what they mean when they say it is, stop talking about how black lives matter. And that's a very different thing. Only when black lives matter is it possible to truthfully say that all lives matter. Because Black Lives Matter doesn't need a rebuttal. If you hear that and think, actually, you're doing it wrong. Black Lives Matter was a specific protest against police brutality that unfairly targeted black people, where black people were being killed by police for doing things that white people almost never face. The same source of consequences for all lives matter is a response to that, which is intended to mean that black people are just making a big deal out of nothing, and shouldn't be protesting about police brutality. Yes, all lives matter, but black people are dealing with a specific issue involving police brutality that they want to get fixed. And saying all lives matter is a way of trying to ignore their complaints and treat them like they're not worth taking seriously. If you read a family dinner and everyone got food except for you, you might say, I deserve to eat. If your grandma says, everyone deserves to eat, and ignores you, she's not wrong that everyone deserves to eat. But it's not very helpful because you still didn't get dinner. Because some controversial movement is hiding behind that perfectly innocent name. Imagine if it was the morning of September 11th, 2001. The WTC buildings collapse. Everyone's in mourning. Then you got that one asshole saying, yeah, well, my building's still standing tall, so I matter more than the people that died. It's basically the same idea. When someone says, Black Lives Matter, in a protest over excessive force killings of POC, your response should not be, yeah, well, all other lives matter too. It's not about you or everyone else at that time. It's about the people being unjustly killed. It's basically a dog whistle informing others that you do not care or have no empathy if it doesn't affect you. Black Lives Matter doesn't mean only Black Lives Matter. It means that Black Lives Matter too. As a Native American, one am confident in saying no lives matter. Saying, save the whales, doesn't mean, fuck all the other fish. Be sure to remember when their parents' loved one dies and they say, my family member died, the correct response is, everybody dies.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.